Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicaveras, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
Mark your calendar for October 18th through the 20th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church presents the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, an indoor event inside the Hellenic Center. Enjoy Greek food, beverages, desserts, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. Located on 60 Traverse Road off exit 258B on I-64 with free admission and parking. Log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. See you October 18th through 20th for the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition.
Opa! From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic. Now here is Greg Bicaveras.
Sports Scene, midweek online, Saturday on the radio from 10 to 11 on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM. TuneIn.com, type in WPMH in the search bar to listen on the radio. Greg Bicaveras along with Joe Daniel right here on the Lighthouse. Happy September. Sports Scene is an interview show just like Sports Highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com and click the YouTube link on the homepage for archived audio and video. Twitter @GregBic, @GJB Radio, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles by going to gjbtv.com to the contact section. Thank you to our military. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville and Virginia Beach. Now delivering sponsors on gjbtv.com as well as Hampton Roads onlinemall.com. Phone line presented by Me Casita with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Show is presented by HRSMHOF.com. That's the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. NFL, college football, high school football, Major League Baseball. Go to nnpstv.com. That's nnpstv.com for the high school football TV schedule. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary. What teased me off? Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene weekly. And we love our regulars, newcomers, and tourists.
Mark your calendar for October 18th through the 20th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church presents the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, an indoor event inside the Hellenic Center. Enjoy Greek food, beverages, desserts, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. Located on 60 Traverse Road off exit 258B on I-64 with free admission and parking. Log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. See you October 18th through 20th for the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition.
Opa! Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicaveras.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. I want to thank our good friends at Courtyard Hampton at 1917 Coliseum Drive. Give them a call at 838-3300. Excellent swimming pool, nice bistro, convenient to anywhere in Hampton Roads. Great guest rooms. Go by and see Mark and the staff in Oasis in Hampton. We had him on last week. Let's welcome back DJ Dozier. Went to Kempsville High School, played for Penn State, the Vikings, the Lions, and the Mets. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Greg.
Very good. Give us up to par what you're doing today.
Well, I've been doing some business consulting for years and spent the last 3.5 years working on a book that was just recently released. Is now available on Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com. At this point, I'm spending a lot of time talking about the message and delivering that message in various places, churches, certainly sporting type events, conferences, things like that.
Let's talk about that book, Decide to Dominate. That sounds like a really good way, because when you think about dominate, it could be personal or business.
We attack it from both aspects. I mean, it is mainly from a career-oriented mindset, but the fact that you decide, understanding that you have the power to decide, is really a key, and certainly on an individual basis. So I think a lot of times, throughout the book, we'll pinpoint an area or an instance where you look in the mirror. And again, you have to realize, no matter what we're talking about in terms of dominating, we're talking more about the person itself or themselves, and to look in the mirror and say, you know what, you have the power to decide what happens next.
When you think about this area, of course, you went to Kempsville High School, but both sides of the water, the peninsula and the south side, whether it's Lawrence Taylor or yourself or Keith Goganis or the baseball players, or Terry Kirby, there's a lot of great athletes from this area.
Without a doubt. And it's been interesting for me to go through especially the last 10 years. I did a lot of camps up in Northern Virginia with some of the other former Redskins. And, the 757 area code is well known all over the state, of course, of Virginia because of the athletes that have come out over the last 30, 35 years. And we've had some great ones.
Yeah, how many NFL coaches from the area code? Mike Tomlin, he played for little William & Mary, and he's now the head coach of the Steelers.
Yeah, doing an outstanding job. I haven't had a chance to meet him, but everyone I've talked to says he's a great coach, obviously very successful on the field. And matter of fact, Tom Bradley, one of my old coaches from Penn State, is now one of his defensive back coaches.
Talking to DJ Dozier, who played for Penn State, played for the Vikings, played for the Lions and the Mets. Glad you're with us. And, of course, Kempsville High School. And before we talk more about the Penn State stuff in your career there, back when you were in high school, it was Kempsville, and it was Bayside, it was Princess Anne. Now there's 11 schools in Virginia Beach.
A lot of growth in the area, right? Yeah, so it's, the rivals between Kempsville and Green Run, was big back then. Now you have to extend that. Of course, it's my understanding that Ocean Lakes is, normally at the top. Lansdowne, of course, being there. I think Cox High School is come on the last 3 or 4 years with their program. So it's always been competitive, but now with more teams, more schools, it's even more competitive.
The interesting thing about Lansdowne, one of the furthest schools in Virginia Beach, coached by a Newport News guy, Tommy Riemann, who coached Michael Vick and Aaron Brooks, and also himself, he was the coach at Warwick and Gloucester as well. So it just shows you that, it's affected by both sides of the water, this heritage. But Riemann, for example, he's still at it at his age.
Well, let's face it, if you have a good system and you're disciplined in that system, it's just a matter of plugging in the right talent, right athlete, and occasionally you'll have good, and at times you'll have great.
Well, let's talk about how were you recruited by Penn State out of Kempsville?
Well, back then, Penn State was very hands-off, at least the way that I would describe it would be hands-off in terms of recruiting versus some of the other schools. I would get a letter, call, or some sort of correspondence from the other schools almost every day. Penn State, on the other hand, would contact me every couple of weeks, maybe. I'd get a letter from them about the same. And, at first I thought they weren't interested. But then I realized this was their style. They don't want to bombard an athlete or potential student athlete, and they want to grow the relationship, but they want to do it in a respectful way. And so when I eventually found out that they were interested, of course, we began to, visit and go back and forth and have more phone calls and conversations. And when I finally visited there, at least my official visit. It was just amazing how I felt when I left. I knew that this was a school that I needed to attend.
They always had good special teams, but they're known for their linebackers and their running backs. Before you was Lydell Mitchell and Franco Harris, but there was always a good, solid running game to go with a decent quarterback, too.
Without a doubt. The running game was key. Of course, when I came in, it was right after Kurt Warner had just left. And John Williams had played fullback for the last couple of years, but he also was a tailback. And so he and I initially went back and forth, and then eventually we were both put on the field, and he played fullback and I was the tailback. But yeah, a tremendous tradition, and when it comes to running backs, it's always nice to see some of these young guys grow while they're there, and then have their opportunity to play.
Were you taken care of pretty well on campus? All your meals were taken care of? How was the road trips, and how was the structure of practice back then?
Yeah, so all of our meals were taken care of. Of course, you're on scholarship. So now, when I say taken care of, meaning during the season, back then a player would have, we would have meals with the team. After the season, then we'd eat with the student population, which was not that good back then. I mean, the food was horrible. So a lot of pizza and subs in the off season.
Right. Talking to DJ Dozier, who played for Penn State. Let's talk about your Penn State career. We mentioned it a little bit last week that the 83 season started off kind of slow, but they were coming off a very good 82 team, and that kind of sustained you as the year went on. Right.
So, I think any freshman that comes in after a team has won the national championship has a higher expectation of what they're going to be a part of. And certainly we did. So that 83 class, when we came in, we expected, hey, we want a ring too. And so to start the season at 0-3 was certainly very difficult and challenging, especially losing to Nebraska 44-6 that year. But we were put to a test. And so, the amazing thing about what we went through is no other Penn State team, or at least paternal team, went through an 0-3 start. And so we were the first, only, maybe. And at that time, I remember Joe coming into the not the locker room, but the meeting room. And we were 0-3. We had just lost to Iowa in that third game. And he said, guys, listen, our backs are against the wall. So we've got to make a choice now. We either lay down or we come out fighting. And, I remember, the mood in that room changed. I mean, we knew we had a decent team, and we were worthy more than just being 0-3. But after that speech, we eventually went 8-4-1 for that season.
Yeah, excellent year. Turning out, talking to DJ Dozier, Greg Bickaveris at Greg Bick on Twitter. It's GregBic, GJBTV.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows, talking Penn State, talking a little bit about the NFL. We'll talk more about the NFL in the next segment as well. But you talk about the rivalries one game at a time. How were the meetings with Joe? Did he delegate a lot? Because he was always very loyal to his assistants as well.
Without a doubt. Joe was, for the most part, he allowed his assistants to handle a lot of the work, and he would just come in and sort of supervise, especially in practice. He'd walk around. Now, I do recall in our last two seasons, my junior year and senior year, he spent a lot more time with the offense than he did the defense. I think he had felt that the defense was pretty much set. I mean, we had guys on the defensive side that had played as freshmen, sophomore. And so we had a defensive team that was pretty solid. And I think that showed up in a lot of the games we played those last 2 years. A lot of shutouts, a lot of times when, the team was just basically not shut out in terms of 0 points, but shut down in terms of their offense. So he spent a lot of time on the offensive side of the ball with us to make sure that we were moving in the same direction.
Let me ask you, it was tough for you because you were born in September like I was. You were very young as a freshman at Penn State, probably at least a year younger than most. Did you think about redshirting? Did you feel like you were still trying to mature yourself?
Personally, I never thought about redshirting. Matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine not long ago about the situation with Paterno during the recruiting part. I was sitting in his house, and Paterno looked across the table and said, "Hey, Dozier, I know that you think that you're good and you're good enough to maybe play or start your freshman year, but in our system, at this point, John Williams is going to be our starter." In my mind, I never thought about redshirting. I mean, it was all about what can I do, what do I need to do to get on the field. And so, over about a three-week period, we worked on that. And, of course, I eventually became the starter my freshman year.
All right, the rest is history. We'll come back with part 2 of the DJ Dozier interview. Of course, you heard a little bit last week. This is Sports Scene every Saturday morning, Joe Daniel, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on 100.1 FM, 1010 a.m., tunein.com, type in WPMH in the search bar. Stay tuned for Sports Scene.
Mark your calendar for October 18th through the 20th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church presents the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, an indoor event inside the Hellenic Center. Enjoy Greek food, beverages, desserts, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. Located on 60 Traverse Road off exit 258B on I-64 with free admission and parking. Log on to NewportNewsGreekFestival.org. See see you October 18th through 20th for the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition.
Opa! The best guests appear here on Sports Scene. Now back to Greg in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
And welcome back to our second part of Sports Scene. At Greg Bick on Twitter, at GJB Radio on Twitter. Glad you're with us. Want to thank our good friends at Panera. All items 100% clean. They do catering, soups, sandwiches, salads, bagels, bread, smoothies, breakfast sandwiches, cookies, dessert, refreshing beverages. Go by and see the great staff over there. For more, go to PaneraBread.com. Food as it should be, located at 6255 College Drive in Harborview. Give them a call at 483-3670. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week. Welcome back, DJ Dozier. DJ, everything was going smooth, it seemed like, at any school. Penn State, Paterno was there from 50 to 65, 66 to 2011 as a head coach. Always looked upon as the saint of coaches, tenure. He didn't like change. The uniforms are always the same. His assistants, for the most part, were very, very loyal. Then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose with Sandusky. And before you say anything, my thoughts are that Sandusky was, well before this scandal, was a player at Penn State, was a graduate assistant at Penn State. And I really don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this evil creature, but we have to a little bit because there was a movie made by HBO about him as well. He was an assistant there from 72 to 99. And my thing is, when you don't get along with somebody, it doesn't take 28 years, doesn't take 30 years. We all evolve. We grow apart. Marriages grow apart. Friendships grow apart. That's just life sometimes. It's unfortunate. Where was the big naive part at? Because something was missing here.
Good question. Definitely something that I can't answer in detail. But I think I'm like everyone else in terms of truth. Of course, we all want to know the absolute truth. Let's face it, at the end of the day, only God and the people involved actually know. And so it could drive you nuts to think or at least try to figure out what the truth is in a situation like this, or the absolute truth of what happened and the details of what happened in each particular instance. But at the end of the day, I think, it's that person and their relationship or lack thereof with God that will matter the most. And what they do, they'll be judged based on what they've done, right or wrong.
And Joe had a lot of great assistants. I mean, this is just one assistant. The sad part was he was there so long. He was there with my good friend toward the end, even David Macklin, who played on Sandusky's last 4 years there from 96 to 99. That's the thing, too. You think between an assistant, a player, several dozens of players that have played there for all those years, hundreds, even thousands, trainers, managers, office staff, somebody would have picked one, hey, this guy just isn't right. That's the weird thing. Even no matter what the crime was, something's not right about this guy.
Well, and quite honestly, I mean, back then I can remember. Of course, now Sandusky was not my coach, but he was a defense coordinator, so he was my roommate's coach, and I heard nothing but positive. I mean, they loved the way he coached, his enthusiasm on the field. I think it was maybe some things off the field that people may have seen but sort of dismissed as just, Sandusky being a little quirky here or there. So, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, to go that many years, and who knows, again, all the details. But again, rather than myself go nuts and crazy and have conversations with other past players, I just say, I mean, between he and God.
And that's my thing, too. An adult like Paterno can't keep track of all his adult players who are over 18, all his adult assistants. So I think he got a lot of blame for that. He might have looked the other way, which is the biggest problem, because a lot of the people from his generation keep it the same. I don't want to change. And maybe Joe was a victim of that.
It's possible. I mean, from what I understand, I mean, Joe at some point did turn things over to the right supervisors, and then it was on them to do whatever it is that they were supposed to do. I have not read the document or the documentations that are out there. At least I've read some of it, but not all of it. It's just, no matter what, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that children were hurt in any way. That's the bottom line. And, so one of the things that I'm certainly doing is working with an organization that's local here, Stop Abuse, that actually helps to educate young kids on how to sort of talk about maybe what's happening in their situation, their life.
Or stay away from bad adults, too. We're talking to DJ Dozier, and the thing I don't like about it is I'm a big Ohio State fan. My dad was, at least, and, I followed Woody Hayes when I was a kid, who was a friend of Joe's as well, that, you had one guy who basically just, hate to use that word, just crapped on the legacy of Joe Paterno. And that's what really makes me mad, that HBO should have done a movie about the legacy of Penn State football when Rip Engel was there and how Joe became an assistant, as opposed to just from 2011 on, because that shows a very small picture of Penn State football. Those of us who like Penn State know the truth, but again, one dark cloud affected everything.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, Hollywood will be Hollywood. So it's not always about telling the absolute truth, but at least a part of the truth that will basically sell. I didn't have a chance to watch the movie. I have some relatives that did, and each one of them said that they didn't like it. So I haven't seen it.
The only funny part was one of his sons, the big one. I think it was Scott.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit of a character, but
right.
Really, that movie was just more about the Sandusky drama, and so forth. All right, a memorable moment from Kempsville, from Penn State, Vikings, Lions, the Mets. Keep that kind of brief.
Okay. Let's see. From the Kempsville Chiefs, it has to be not Paterno, Coach Gahagan. When he actually wanted me to play receiver, he thought my strides were too long for a running back, and so my sophomore year I was the second team receiver and the third or fourth team running back. He after our first or second scrimmage, I did pretty good in both the A and the B scrimmage, and so in the next practice, he actually asked me what position I wanted to start at. And so that's how I became the starter as a running back at Kempsville. Another memorable moment at Penn State, gosh, there's so many. I think the biggest, of course, is, I went to Penn State to win a national championship. And so being able to win that championship in my senior year was amazing. And we had lost the year before that to Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. So to be able to come back, that team, to put ourselves in a position to play for a championship and next time win was an amazing experience. With the Vikings, any rookie that comes in, you're always expecting, the similar success that you've had in college. That doesn't always happen that way. But one of the memorable moments is sitting in our meeting room with the running backs, and one of our running back coaches says, "Hey guys, listen, there's a lot of rumors going on that Herschel Walker is coming to this team." He goes, "I want to be 100% clear with you. That's not going to happen. It's a 100% rumor, and we're happy with the crew that we have." 24 hours later, Herschel was sitting next to me in the meeting, and so you learn pretty quick that at the next level in NFL, it's a business, not just a game.
Not just that, but then you went to the Lions, and then you had Barry Sanders. So it was like, you were the main guy at Penn State, and then you were kind of under the shadow of these other players. Right.
Well, you're talking some pretty good players. Yeah. I did have a chance to share the backfield with both of them, and in both instances, of course, you're talking about two different types of athletes and two different types of players that were quote unquote dominant in their space as running backs. With the Mets, I would have to say that, again, it's so many multiple moments that I could pull out from my experiences with the Mets. But one of the most memorable, actually I should say two, it was having a chance to meet David Cohn and Darryl Strawberry. Both those guys talked to me, especially Darryl sat down with me and actually to the side and for about 20 minutes just talked to me about the game and about the business of baseball. And I really appreciate it. He didn't have to do that, but he did it out of the goodness of his heart.
Very nice. A longtime friend of yours, Panicos, is here in the studio too. Panicos, talk about your friendship with DJ.
DJ and I have been friends since we were 12 years old. I'm from the island of Cyprus, Greg, and I came in this country 10. By the age of 12, we became friends. We were in the same science class, and we just clicked. And like any other kid, you choose your friends, and our relationship kept growing and growing, and we've been friends ever since then. And he's always supported me and supported him, and of course, becoming such a great athlete, I've always tried to give him a little guidance and push him and help him to succeed in his endeavors. And a matter of fact, I'd like to share a story when DJ was getting ready to make a decision which college to go to. I said, hey, Penn State is a team that I think would be good for you. I think Joe Paterno is the type of coach that cares about you, not just what happens in athletics, but in your life. And I think that gave him a little bit of an open mind, and I think that helped him make a better decision in his college endeavor.
How many games did you attend, Penn State?
I went to most of the games, his freshman, sophomore, and junior and senior year.
How about the book, Decide to Dominate?
Well, Decide to Dominate, it's this amazing book. I've read a lot of books, a lot of motivational books, a lot of different, like we all do. We like to grow and learn and have an edge in whatever we do in life. This book just touched me emotionally and spiritually to the point where I keep wanting to read it, and I think it's a book for everybody. And I think every person that wants, especially young people, to have a tremendous career and positiveness in their life, I think this book will help them in every aspect.
Very good. Thank you, Panicos. And DJ, how is that book available for the public?
So it is available on Amazon.com as well as BarnesandNobles.com.
Very good. Leave us with a tip for young people.
Always be true to yourself. You have to follow. We all have purpose, and if you understand that, then you're not going to try to become someone else or do what someone else should be doing. Do what you do what is best, and stay within your gifts and thrive from that perspective.
And the thing is that sometimes it takes us 30 or 40 years to realize it, because we're pulled by all these adult mentors, some good, some bad, some ugly, and we finally realize, hey, look, I'm living my life. I've got to do what's best for me and my family.
Absolutely, and that's why I talk about decision, making that decision to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I can do this, and then go do it.
Very good. DJ, all the best, my friend, and we look forward to work with you in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
DJ Dozier, former Kempsville, former Penn State, former Viking, former Lion, and former Met, but from the great city, of course, Virginia Beach. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Mark your calendar for October 18th through the 20th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church presents the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, an indoor event inside the Hellenic Center. Enjoy Greek food, beverages, desserts, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. Located on 60 Traverse Road off exit 258B on I-64 with free admission and parking. Log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. See you October 18th through 20th for the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition.
Opa! Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bickaveris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff. Great, spacious, nice dining area. Excellent place to watch college and the NFL, Major League Baseball. Excellent lunch and dinner daily, 7 days a week. Of course, burgers, steaks, soups, salads, appetizers, seafood, pasta, chicken, ribs, chops, and more. Dessert, special occasions at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. They deliver. Tell your friends they deliver. They're located at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Give them a call at 523-4832. It's a welcome back time for Mr. Craig Cole from Hampton Cup Regatta, a monthly guest here as well. Craig, it's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, Greg, we are. Thanks for the time on here. We really appreciate it. Like I said, we're 3 weeks away from the best racing on the East Coast. We've got everything coming together nicely. We're getting early registrations filed from our boat racers, and we've got all of our stuff lining up for our merchandise and our food vendors. We've got a couple surprises in store for folks. I think they'll enjoy it. But things are coming together nicely.
The good thing is with the later date, tell the fans, because for a long time you were during the summer, and of course now with it being in late September, you've got time to almost tweak things before race time.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. We are getting away from that brutal August heat, like you said. Things are a little bit nicer. We moved to September. We had a lot of positive returns on that. This time of year in September, you do have a couple other things going on. Like the biggest thing for us, competition-wise, if you want to call it that, is a Neptune Festival. But we hope that people will take they'll come see us one day, maybe go enjoy that area the next day. But we're really just trying to partner with everybody we can to bring in the awareness and to actually come out. And once you get there, you're like, wow, how have I been missing this all this time? If you're a first timer, or the people who are returning to us is like, yes, this is the best event we can come to this time of year.
But the good thing about your event, it's a peninsula event. I mean, you draw from all over the state and all over the country, but it's still a peninsula-based event.
Right. I mean, we're one of the premier events for the city of Hampton, and we are recognized for that up and down the peninsula. I mean, we run folks, no matter where we're at, York County, Pocosin, Newport News, as well as Hampton. And they'll ask us, I try to wear my T-shirts everywhere I go, and people ask me about the races, and it gives me a good opportunity to talk to them. And they always have a smile on their face when they talk about it. They're like, man, I really enjoy coming, or I want to come and see what you're all about. And it's just that gleam in their eye that really kind of sets me off. And I'll start talking, and next thing you know, there's 20 minutes that have rolled by.
Well, give us the dates and, of course, the location.
Well, first of all, our kickoff event will be September the 28th, that Friday evening at the Oozle Bench Craft Brewery. We'll have the Jason Kale Band playing for us from 7 to 10. We'll start at 6. But we'll have the field there in front of the brewery filled up with race boats where folks can come by and lay their hands on the boat, talk to the driver, talk to the owners, and maybe even crawl in a cockpit or two and see how they like that. And then we'll get our race event actually kicked off on Saturday morning. Gates will open up at 10 a.m., and then we'll start racing approximately around 12 noon, depending on that tide. We'll make sure we got everything locked down, ready to roll. And then we'll race till about approximately 4 or 5 o'clock, depending on what our boat count looks like and any things we may have to deal with weather-wise. We always pray for perfect weather, but it is Virginia, southeastern Virginia, right here on the bay. Sometimes we get a little bit of rain or wind. But one thing to always remember: we never cancel a boat race. We might have a little bit of delay, but we never cancel, because as soon as that weather lays back down, we'll get back out there getting it, and we'll run up to dark. And like I said, gates open at 10 on Saturday. They also do the same thing on Sunday, and we'll do a rinse and repeat for both days. One thing that we're doing this year, because we are the Summer Nationals, if anybody's interested, on Saturday evening we'll go back over to Oozle Bench and do our Summer National Trophy Award. Anybody is interested in seeing that, and again, an opportunity to talk to racers and drivers. We'll be in the barrel room in the backside of the brewery. Those familiar with it, that's where we're at. But it's another unique opportunity that we don't usually have, that folks can check things out.
Very nice. Always something really for everyone there. And Hampton Cup Regatta is one of the oldest events in the country. And, of course, it's sustained for decades thanks to wonderful volunteers and racers itself and a great staff like yourself. It really takes a village to put this on.
It does, Greg. We have a committee that we work all year long planning. We'll start planning for 2019 next month, literally. I mean, we'll have a hot wash. What went good, what went bad, what can we fix, what things we just got to deal with, and that kind of thing. But just as important is our weekend volunteers. We always put that call out, starting around May time frame for us, because we have a couple of hundred volunteer shifts and opportunities that anybody wants to come out and help us and get a really up close and behind the scenes view of this great event. Some folks come out just for a few hours. Some people come out with us all weekend. Some people come help us sit up, or some people help us break down. We love every one of them, and we could not put this event on without those volunteers. I mean, that's critical that we had at any event like this. Your volunteers coming in, the people want to be part of the event. People want to give back, for their community, and be part of something bigger than themselves. I mean, that's the reason why I do this. This is all volunteer for myself as well. Yeah,
we don't talk about the R word, the rain, but let's face it, folks. We're not on a baseball field or a football stadium or a basketball court. This is water on water, so a little water is not going to hurt anybody.
No. And and like I said, compared to a baseball field, we have about a quarter mile of prime viewing area along the Merton Boulevard Bridge, right there between Phoebus and Fort Monroe, as well as over there by the basketball courts that are on the old fort. And some folks will actually even go on the far side where the pits are to view. Now, our pits are open. Anybody wants to come down and check things out, again, talk to a driver, see the engines up close, see the cowling covers off, hear them, feel them, that kind of thing. So that's another attribute that you don't get at a lot of different races, where you can have that up close personal touch and feedback and see what's going on. You might go out and see a heat, something went wrong, something went right. You can go over and talk to the guys and say, hey, what's going on? And if you're a gearhead, and I mean that term affectionately, you can go over there and see those guys and see what they're doing to those engines that make them perform the way they do. And it's just, there's no sound in the world like that hydro coming across that straightaway and getting it. And then the rooster tails flying and the wind's blowing just right. You feel that mist from the water come across you. And I tell you, man, it's just a combination of it. Just overwhelms senses when you're standing there and you're experiencing that.
It's a lot of fun to watch, folks. Really, that's something that has to be described by in person. If you want to get a taste of it, maybe go to YouTube and type in Hampton Cup Regatta or some speed racing. Tell us the founding body of racing for the regatta. What's the corporate name of these racers?
Our sanctioning body is American Powerboat Association, based up in Detroit, Michigan. And we are in Region 4 for APBA. We're the inboard series. You do have an outboard series, drag series, your offshore and stuff like that. But we are the inboard series, and we invite up to 14 different classes of inboard race boats. You have your traditional flat bottoms that some people might associate with the lines of your bass boats and that kind of thing. Then we have our Jersey speed skiffs. That's more like a V bottom boat. That's a throwback to the old rum runner days back in the 30s, 20s and 30s. And then you'll have your traditional what we call our hydroplane classes. And those are the ones that you'll see get up to the speeds of 150 miles an hour with those 5 liters. And we're hoping, and I want to stress that, we're hoping that we'll see a few Grand Prix this year. And if those boys show up, you will get a show like you have not seen in Hampton in quite a while, because those guys will get up to about 175 miles an hour.
Craig Cole, Hampton Cup Regatta, once again, the dates.
September 29th and 30th for our races. And our kickoff event will be September the 28th at Oozlefinch Craft Brewery on Fort Monroe.
And we're going to have you again in the studio in a couple of weeks with a special guest, too, as well.
Yes, we're going to bring Kevin Gunther back on. He talked to us back in May at the beginning of the season. So we'll kind of get maybe a little highlight to how his season's been going, how things have developed. Hear some of his wins, maybe some of his losses if he wants to talk about them. But Kevin's a tremendous young man. He and his dad race and skip together. And then Kevin also races one of the hydros by himself.
I guess September is really a month for last-minute changes, but for the most part, you've gotten your sponsors and you've laid your foundation for the big event.
Yeah, foundations are laid. Our sponsors are coming in nicely. I hesitate to really start picking off sponsors to talk about because we have so many, and I don't really want to miss any. But the City of Hampton, by far, is our biggest and oldest sponsor, along with Lockwood Cranes and Old Point National Bank. Those three together have stood by us through thick and thin, and we really appreciate them.
Craig Cole, Hampton native as well. We look forward to seeing you here in the studio in 2 weeks, and of course for the big event at the end of September.
Looking forward to it, Greg. Again, thanks for the time, and we'll be talking to you.
Very good. My pleasure. Craig Cole right there from the Hampton Cup Regatta. And Joe Daniel, that's a really fun event. It's a free event. It's a community event. And people it's an affordable event because it's free. You can bring the family, bring the kids, and see some great powerboat racing.
Yeah, it sounds very fun, like you said. And it's family friendly. It's free. I mean, what can you ask? What more can you ask for?
When it's free, there's no agenda. A lot of times when you interview people and talk to people, there might be a little bit of a catch. But when it's free, you're basically saying it's wide open.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very good. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Mark your calendar for October 18th through the 20th as Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church presents the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition, an indoor event inside the Hellenic Center. Enjoy Greek food, beverages, desserts, dancing, arts and crafts, and much more. Located on 60 Traverse Road off exit 258B on I-64 with free admission and parking. Log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. See you October 18th through 20th for the Newport News Greek Festival Fall Edition.
Opa! You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicaveras. Now, back to Greg. It's now time for Greg's Highlights presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
Sports Scene is online on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube Saturday from 10 to 11 on the Lighthouse, 100.1 FM, 1010 AM, HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, visit, bookmark it, folks. HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Also GJBTV.com and HRSMHOF.com. Our question presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News to Joe Daniel, our producer. Joe Daniel, has your particular radio show that you co-host evolved to your liking?
In some aspects, absolutely. It has turned out to be the show, picking up the habit every Wednesday at 5:30 to 6:30, to be the show that the host and I have kind of envisioned. And it's different from any other show. I think not just on this station, but one of the very few shows or rare shows being broadcast right now, because despite us talking about Christian topics, we're not preaching. We're not claiming to know all the answers. And we love answering and hearing what our audience has to say. And so we're not behind a golden microphone telling you what to believe. We are asking our audience to think for yourself, study, pray, listen to the Holy Spirit work within yourself and come up with your own decision, with your own thoughts, with your own faith in that. And so in that aspect, absolutely. Of course, like the time that we're on, we'd love to be on a little bit longer. We love people calling in. But overall, it has turned into something that I'm very proud to be a part of. There are little aspects of it that we're still working on. Like, no show is 100% perfect. We are still working to make it better. We're actively trying to make it better, as I think any successful show needs to have that mentality to do.
How about a word in edgewise between you and the co-host and y'all's own physical space? Because each of y'all are totally different people.
We are, yeah. He's a Franciscan monk, the host. He's Father Tim. He's a priest in the Anglican tradition. And so he has very orthodox views, which are just fine. But that's what makes him and I get along so well, or have such a good show that we have, is because he is very much orthodox and traditional, and I'm much more, I guess, because I am 29, I'm going to be 30 this year, younger. I have a different outlook, different perspective, different experiences. But we understand each other. We're not saying what you say and what you believe is wrong. We're saying that's interesting. Let's delve into that a little bit deeper. And so I highly recommend people to check out the show if you haven't already. Wednesdays from 5:30 to 6:30. We also do Facebook Live, and I think that's been an extremely beneficial aspect to our audience, to our show in itself, because even though people may not be able to listen to it live, they can always go to our Facebook and just search Picking Up the Habit. And every single show that we have done for the past 2 years, if you click on the videos tab, our Facebook Live is right there. So you can scroll down and see shows from the very beginning.
Very nice. I want to thank our good friends at Buffalo Wild Wings. We look forward to hearing Joe Daniel's show. Buffalo Wild Wings, lunch, dinner, appetizers, mozzarella sticks, salads, boneless, traditional wings, burgers, wraps, sandwiches. Go by and see Paul and their wonderful staff. Your NFL, your college football headquarters, Major League Baseball in September and October as well. Buffalo Wild Wings is located at 12150 Jefferson Avenue, Newport News, right next to Patrick Henry Mall. Like them on Facebook, download their app, go to their website, buffalowildwings.com. Great app as well. Great football, great sports, great TV, great food, especially the wings, the burgers, and the great appetizers. Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News, Wings, Beer, Sports.
The summer heat is now here. Is your air conditioner ready? Your AC works hard to keep you cool, so give it the loving it needs. Call AMR Comfort at 495-6676 and get your AC ready for the summer heat. If you need a new air conditioner, call AMR Comfort 495-6676 to schedule an appointment with the owner, Steve. He will meet with you and help you choose a system that fits your budget. If you need help with a water heater, call AMR Comfort 495-6676 to get your hot water flowing again. We believe in old-fashioned things like honesty, pride, craftsmanship, and going beyond the expectations of every customer. Call AMR Comfort 495-6676 and you'll deal with someone with the tools, the training, and the drive to make your home more comfortable than you've ever experienced. Find us online at amrcomfort.com. Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicaveras.
want to thank our good friends at Barrel 17. Go by and see Jamie and Chris over at 1706 Mediterranean Avenue in Virginia Beach. Excellent appetizers, burgers, dogs, excellent toppings, chicken sandwiches, fish sandwich, cheesesteak, salads, vegan burgers, house-cut fries, beer-battered onion rings, great appetizers, like I said, excellent desserts, adult beverages, and a great atmosphere. Barrel 17, like them on Facebook. Locals and tourists love Barrel 17 at 1706 Mediterranean Avenue, Virginia Beach. Go by for a great meal today. Let's welcome our weekly segment with the Norfolk Tides, Ian Locke, the Media Relations Director. And Ian, I guess the season's officially over.
Season is officially over. It's hard to believe that summer is, for all intents and purposes, is over. And baseball, for us anyway, is over. But we're already looking forward to the 2019 season, that's for sure.
Well, what happened for a while, because it was going pretty solid second half of the season, I guess, and I guess August was kind of a dip.
Yeah, we had a great season pretty much all year. I mean, we started 0-1, and then we were like 1-2 and 4-5, and then after we were 4-5, we were over 500 pretty much every day all the way through till August 30th. So we played. I think we had a couple of points throughout the season. We were 9 games over 500. We were leading our division at one point. We were in the wild card chase pretty much the entire season until the last 2 weeks or so. We had a lot of guys get hurt and guys get called up, and we didn't really play that well, and finished off the season 5 games back in the wild card chase, and didn't make the playoffs. I think we ended up losing something like 13 of our final 17 games or something like that, and that really kind of put the nail in our coffin when it comes to postseason.
What were the highlights of the season?
I think we had, just like we do a lot of times, we had some exciting players come through that we think will be major league ball players for a long time. I know Cedric Mullins was an outfielder, played 60 games for us, and fans who were lucky enough to see him. I mean, he was a really dynamic player. He had a couple, outstanding diving catches in center field. He made SportsCenter's top 10 a couple times, and young, really smaller guy. He's only 5'8", not really, 5'8", 165 pounds, but had 6 home runs, 17 doubles with us in only 60 games, and since he got called up to Baltimore, he's continued to do the same thing. He's hitting around 300 for the Orioles, and he's been their leadoff guy, and he's kind of the guy that's not supplanted Adam Jones, but the last couple of weeks, Adam Jones has moved to right field to make room for Cedric Mullins in center field, and it's exciting to see him. We got to know him as a really bright young man, and we're glad to see him go up and do well, and hopefully he's a guy that can help turn around the Orioles' fortunes, because obviously they had a down year this year, and more players like Cedric will hopefully turn that around.
No, we always hear about the players being called up after September. What about the managers like Ron Johnson and his staff? What do they do now? So
the long story is, the season for all these guys, a lot of the minor leaguers, begins pretty much February 15th or so. So they go down to spring training. They play 140 games. They 6 weeks of spring training. Very few off days throughout the season, and they go home and sleep as fast as possible. They're just excited to get home and see their families for a little bit. What the Orioles have done the last couple of years, especially with Ron Johnson and Mike Griffin, our pitching coach, is let them go home for a week to 10 days to kind of catch up with family, recharge the batteries a little bit, and then they've been promoted to Baltimore the end of September for usually like a homestand or two, just to kind of reward them for a great year. And it's great to see, especially Ron Johnson, our manager, this is his 7th year with the Tides, and he's gone up every single year to the Orioles. And when they were in the postseason chase, it was great to see him there. And it's also now this year when the Orioles aren't going to be fighting for playoff spots, but for him to go up there and be able to talk to Buck Showalter and kind of give him some opinions of some of the players that are up there, and just to work with the guys a little more, it's a great reward for a really long season.
Obviously, him and Buck get along very well.
Oh yeah, it's crazy to see how often throughout the year. We have a game here that ends at 10 o'clock, and I'll go down to Ron Johnson's office after the game, and the Orioles will just finish the game, win or lose, and I'm watching it on Masson, and you see that's the final from Camden Yards, Orioles 5, Yankees 3, whatever it is, and Ron Johnson's phone will ring, and it's Buck calling about something, and he needs a pitcher, or he needs a position player, or hey, who's your starter for tomorrow? And they're in constant communication, and so a lot of times you'll see, or I'll see. I'm fortunate enough to see where Buck will call RJ and talk to him, and then 5 seconds later he's on Masson doing the post game interview. Hey, we've been in some discussions about calling up a player or two here and there, and Fortunate for me, I'm in the room a lot of times when that happens, so I kind of know what they're doing. But RJ and Buck have a great relationship, and they talk almost daily throughout the year, and that's great to see that the Orioles and us have such a great relationship.
And that's one thing that's really good about Masson is they connect the Orioles and Nationals fans, and they can see where a lot of the minor leaguers go to, because the whole point is to get to the majors, and they can see their progress and work in action.
Yeah, and we're fortunate too to be, as an Orioles affiliate, to have Masson here in the area. The Orioles have done a great job with kind of clustering their minor league affiliates to have Aberdeen, Delmarva, Bowie, Frederick, and Norfolk all within the Masson umbrella, if you will. I know there's some teams like, just for example, the Chicago White Sox AAA team is in Charlotte, and they have a great relationship with Charlotte, but there aren't White Sox games on TV in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's just not a thing unless you pay for some sort of package. So we're fortunate in that regard. I know back in the day when we were a Mets affiliate, the Mets were on TV on ESPN a lot of times, but that was it. So you'd miss guys getting called up, and you wouldn't see them unless you had SNY or whatever it was at the time, TV network wise. So for us to have a player here, and you see him on a Thursday at Harbor Park, and he gets called up, and he's pitching on a Friday, at Yankee Stadium, and you can watch it on Mass, and that's definitely a positive for our guys.
Talk about, for the fans for the off season, how they can get involved in suites. We haven't talked about suites a whole lot, and how do you make that decision whether to keep the windows open or not, even in the press box?
So we have a bunch of suites. For those who don't know, we have 24 suites at Harbor Park. There are 20 on the third floor of the stadium, and those all have outdoor seating, and they're based on the different sizes. I believe the smallest is 12-person suite, and I think the largest is a 24-person suite. So I think it's like 12, 16, 20, and 24 that seat capacity kind of thing. And we have 4 more suites on the press level of the stadium as well. So anyone who's interested, we have partial season packages. Those are available to rent on a nightly basis as well. But anyone who wants to book a suite for the 2019 season, or even try and do a season package of suites, can give us a call anytime throughout the off season at 757 and 622-2222. A lot of twos in that number, but or they can just look at our website and kind of get some information there. But it's a great way to entertain clients and to have friends and family out to games, and really pretty affordable considering you get the food in there and the great view, and and like you said the windows. The 20 suites on the third floor have outside seating, so it's a great way to you can be inside and have climate controlled comfort inside. If it's cold or hot outside, you can go warm up or cool down, whatever you need, and then it's a great spot to catch a foul ball too and enjoy the ambiance of the stadium. But and then you mentioned the windows. I mean, one thing especially in the press level, we barely do keep the windows open at Harbor Park, especially in the press level, mostly because of the wind. It's always windy here, and the wind will blow all our papers around.
Interesting.
It's one of those things where you say, hey, it's a beautiful night, let's open the windows, and then after 5 minutes, just the wind just keeps blowing the papers around in the press box, and you go, you know what, never mind, let's close the windows and enjoy some AC.
Yeah, this year was really tough with weather, even this past weekend. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's April through September, it could always rain in the afternoon, and you're right about that. But I guess people do like the open air. That's the advantage of being in the suites.
Yeah, and that's a great, even the 4 suites we have on the 4th floor of the stadium, the press level, they do have giant windows that do open, so you can enjoy, us dorks in the press box have all these papers in front of us, but most people don't have a score sheet and rosters and all that game notes stuff in front of them when they're watching the game. So the wind isn't that big an issue to most fans at the ballpark.
All right, give us the final record and the social media.
Yep. So we finished 69 wins and 71 losses. We finished in third place in our division. Like I said, after it's kind of a shame to have finished in third place and below 500 after being essentially first or second all year until the last 2 weeks. We just had a really, really bad last 2 weeks, and that happens. I just had a bad stretch at the end of the year, but a really strong season overall, and 30 different players from the Tides have gone up to play for the Orioles this year. So you really are going to see the future of the Baltimore Orioles when you come down here to watch a game, and we're pretty proud of that. But so for those who want to follow us in the off season, can always go to our website, NorfolkTides.com, or they can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NorfolkTides, and then they can look at us on Instagram or Snapchat as well. We're just search Norfolk Tides and you'll find us, and we'll be posting all sorts of content in the off season. Mostly just missing baseball and hoping for a quick return of baseball in 2019.
Ian, all the best. Great season of talking to you. We look forward to picking this up again in 2019. 2 excellent years in a row. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Ian Locke right there. I want to thank our good friends, too, at Sakura Japanese Restaurant. Go by and see Jasmine and the wonderful staff. Great sushi bar, takeout, dine-in. They deliver through orderup.com. Give them a call at 410-4577. Sushi, hot food, all at Sakura Japanese Restaurant in Chesapeake.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, time now for What Tees Me Off. Always a fun segment as well. HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Joe Daniel, waitresses who cop an attitude about cleaning the table you're about to sit on. So let's say you're sitting at the bar, it's kind of messy, and the waitress says, oh, really, I got to clean that up too. Kind of like, it should be ready already.
Yeah, it's not just that, but you should be embarrassed that the table isn't ready. I mean, that's the experience that I've always come across. If the table has crumbs or is sticky, the waitress I've seen in my experience is, oh my gosh, let me make sure that this is clean. I'm sorry, don't even sit down. Let me wipe this up real quick. And she comes back with a rag and some chemicals, whatever, and gets it ready for you. To throw up an attitude, to have me sit down with a sticky table, that would tee me off extremely bad.
Yeah, not to mention a sticky chair. And a lot of times these restaurants get busy and it's like too much work for one person. All right, people taking political jabs at funerals. Really? I mean, come on. It's a funeral, Republican, Democratic, Independent. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, time and a place. Something like that is appropriate, but honestly, it's a funeral. You're not there to spread your agenda. You are there to pay respects to someone that has influenced your life so much that you have all come together for this one moment. Share that moment and be extremely respectful for it.
Right, because you're taking away from that person. You're making the focus yourself. Cars bunched together on the freeways. Really, I was trying to get off a freeway and a car was like right on my tail. We've talked about this before, but there's nothing worse on the local roads, the interstates, the freeways, or the intersections, or trying to get off a ramp and somebody's right on your grill.
Yeah, tailgating. Yeah, absolutely. But also, what tees me off is people don't know how to merge.
Yeah.
I've seen. Zipper in, guys. Like, it's okay for one vehicle to get in front of you. You're not going to get there any slower if one vehicle creeps in front of you. Zipper in. And that's it. One person goes ahead, you go behind, someone goes behind you. And that's it. That keeps traffic moving forward. Zipper in. Don't be the jerk who speeds up to prevent someone from getting in front of you when overall all you're doing is making everything worse.
Right, especially during rush hour as well, during the weekdays. Pedestrians yelling to cars, sorry, they're not going to hear you. You can yell all you want on your foot, but they're not going to hear you say, hey, whatever. Confirming with one person a time to meet, and crickets on the other end. Hey, look, it's important. I'm meeting you at 12 o'clock. With that said, it's never easy to have last-minute cancellations.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. If you say you're going to do something, always try to do it. I mean, again, if life happens, emergencies happen, totally understandable. But always try to stay true to your word.
One thing, confident people are fine. Cocky people, not so much.
Being a jerk. Because if you're cocky, you're putting, to me, that says if you're cocky, you're putting other people down in order to make yourself. That's an insecurity. If you're cocky, you're not confident with yourself. You're actually insecure. And so you're putting other people down in order to elevate yourself.
You're really revealing your true negative character, too. People who take cuts at you when you least expect it. Those are the ones we're talking about. Last two things, unexpected noises from nowhere.
Yeah, horror movies definitely play a role in that with a huge jump scare, and they just play an extremely loud note. The orchestra does or something. But yeah, it's sudden stuff definitely is surprising and startling.
Last thing, business or pleasure. Uninvited guests, business or pleasure.
Yeah, when you're not expecting someone. I mean, I know in the olden days, you know, people used to go over to people's houses all the time, and it was unexpected. Yeah, come over whenever you want, and people would do that. Now, it's so extremely rude to just knock on someone's door and be like, "Hey, I'm here now. I'm here now.
Open the fridge."
Exactly, but it's. I wish things were that wholesome again.
Yes.
Where you could just be, I was in the neighborhood and I just wanted to see you. We're friends. I want to see you. And you invite them in and say, that's great. You want some coffee? I just made something. You want to eat something? And that hospitality, that is something that I wish that we would get back to, as opposed to, wait a minute, why didn't you call me 5 hours before you said you were going to be here.
Right. Or somebody said, I need a day to get prepared.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's what teased me off. I want to thank our great guest today, DJ Dozier, who played football at Penn State, Craig Cole from the Hampton Cup Regatta, and Ian Locke from the Norfolk Tides. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Visit the sponsors. Click the YouTube link as well, at Greg Bick on Twitter, at GJB Radio on Twitter as well. For Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bickaveris. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.